Happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. This is Disconnect to Connect, one-word conversations. One-word conversations is brought to you by I Am William Brown, a place where you can be yourself and live your life. Now, one of the things that I do to spotlight the items that are at I Am William Brown is to use my U cards. They are intention setting cards, and I use them to set intentions for this conversation. My I am card is I am unique. My you are card is you are curious. That's always fun. And my quote card for this conversation is there is no one youer than you by Dr. Seuss. So with that in mind, I will have our conversation and we will look at the word that we are going to be talking about today. And the word is relentless. And so the word has been coming up a number of times for me, and it's something that I'm very interested in seeing how it comes up within this conversation. So with that in mind, I am going to invite my guest in and we'll have a conversation.
Hi, William.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm really well, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Now, this is the part of the show where I ask my guests to introduce themselves however it feels comfortable to them.
Sure. So my name's Emine, and I'm a modern-day intuitive and a sacred feminine leadership mentor. And I support women to live with courage, passion, and purpose by owning their voice and stepping into their power. And I'm in sunny Sydney, Australia, if you're wondering about the accent.
Right. No, that's great. This is definitely a global conversation. So I am so glad that that you said yes to be a part of this. So how does the word relentless land for you?
Look, when you said that word to me, I found it. The first thing that came up for me was aggression. That's the first thing that came up. So I don't know how it's coming up for you, William, but being relentless feels like a tug of war. You know, pushing and pulling against something that maybe isn't really meant for you. So trying to force something, trying to make something happen, trying to manipulate situations around whatever it is in order to achieve a goal that you feel you want to achieve. But the thing I think we forget is that not everything is right for us. And because we hold on to things as human beings, we don't like change. We like to control things because we like to know that we are safe. And so this is where this whole power struggle can come in with situations, with people, where you're trying to hang on to something, but you can't see that it's not for you. And you're holding on to it because you're afraid to let go of what that might mean for you, what that might mean for your future, how you might, perhaps it might undermine your security, your safety in some way. So we're always thinking in our minds of the future.
Right. Wow. It did not occur to me that way. And now it kind of feels that way for me now. It's like, oh geez, I've shifted so quickly. No, because it was really, that's what this conversation is all about. Sometimes we, use the same words and we think that they occur to us the same way, and people have totally different feelings about it. And we feel like, I'm saying all these nice, lovely words, and and it's causing disconnection with somebody else. It's like, oh no, that's a horrible word to be used. And for me, relentless is just something of steadfast, just kind of staying present, staying with it, not giving up, and just kind of being that. And because there has been so many things that have gotten away from me or felt like it's gotten away from me. And it was because I wasn't relentless. I wasn't really kind of like, take this level of ownership in it. And really recognize that, by your sharing that, it's like, hey, there are some moments where I just need to let the damn thing go, right? I just need to, go on. Maybe this is not for me. Maybe there's another way. And that was like, wow, all right. I guess I can look at it that way too.
And there's a real freedom in letting go as well. If you can do it, there's a real freedom in that, because all of a sudden, all that responsibility, all that heaviness that you were carrying around disappears and it's replaced with lightness and freedom. Right.
I mean, I've talked before about living in the flow of my life, right? And it is, it sounds nice, right? It sounds like a fun place, but it seems like there are so many demands on our life that it's like, I can't just go with the flow. I gotta like control this, or this can get out of hand, right? Really, really quickly. And I think, like you were saying, that level of control is causing the suffering, is causing the disconnect, is causing all of these things that if I just not be in a state of being relentless about it, but flowing with it, then what's mine is mine, and what needs to go will go, and just go with that. So it's like, wow. But do you think that, is there a time within that where you have to be relentless? Do you have to do that? And kind of, so you have to, as they say in the States, pick your battles. So I don't know if that's something that they say in Australia too.
Yeah, look, there's a fine line between the doing of something. So, of course, if there's something you want to achieve in your life, you have to get into action and do it. But there's the energy behind that doing that's important. What is the energy behind that doing? Is it fear-based? Is it control-based? What is the energy behind that doing?
Right.
And, we're not really taught to think like that. We brought up a certain way to think certain things, know what's right, this is wrong, you can't do this, you can do this. And we're not really taught to listen to ourselves and what's right for us outside of what society thinks is right for us. And I'm not talking about anarchy or anything like that. I mean, when you are completely within yourself and taking counsel with yourself, there is nothing anarchical about that. It is very much in flow. It is very much in peace. It is very much in joy. It is very much in love. But we're not taught that. We're always taught, look outside of yourself. So most certainly, when you want something, when you set your goals, you have to get into action. But I want to replace the word relentless for you, William. Okay. I want to replace it with persistence.
Okay. All right.
Which has a lot more. It has a gentler feel, energy to it.
Right.
But it's still in that same genre, I suppose, of getting things done for yourself or achievement.
Right. And I've noticed that there's a lot of words that they come with buddies, right? So they don't just come with their definition. And I can definitely now feel, it didn't feel like that before. It's kind of interesting because right before our call, it was like, oh yeah, relentless, and let's just kind of go for it and just kind of go there. But there's this masculine energy that just kind of dominates it. And it's kind of interesting because I had a conversation a while ago about impact, and I don't use impact for the same reason, because it feels like I'm dominating. I am trying to control something. And so I'm more often use the word influence. So I try to influence because that gives people a choice. I say what I say, and they have a choice to kind of do something. There's not a manipulation to it. There's not a force. There is not a desired outcome. And it's really interesting that I had no connection to those emotions or feeling around Relentless. And it's just, so these are the moments in my show where it's like, geez, I'm the host and I look like an idiot right now because I'm just not paying attention to,
Not at all.
I'm not paying attention. How did I not see this before? It's
well,
like,
it just wasn't in your reality, it just wasn't in your reality. So, I mean, this is the beauty about life. We're always learning something new about ourselves, about each other.
Right.
So don't be so hard on yourself.
I know I do have a conversation around labels, right? And so I'm the podcast host label, and this is how I'm supposed to be and kind of show up. And as I have behind me, I'm not my label, right? And so, but I am also. But it is really, really fascinating. There is the one thing that I've added for the show, this season is a conversation around the work, social, and self of the disconnect to connect framework. And today, being the day of social, I had a question around relationship and relationships. And so the question is, what one word causes connection or disconnection in your relationships?
For me, the word is conditional. When there's a discussion and the outcome is dependent on a condition, I find that actually aggressive in a sense, could be, and limiting as well. For me as a human being, I like to expand myself,
right,
and controlling. I find that controlling as well. So that's how I see conditional conversations. That's how they land with me, as controlling, aggressive, and limiting.
Right. It's very interesting because I've interchanged conditions or conditional along with boundaries or appropriateness or something. So it occurs to me as a little softer than controlling, but I'm starting. You're really opening up my mind to kind of seeing how having a relationship with conditions, right? Can kind of really create a level, because it's kind of interesting, because in some cases conditions kind of seals the deal, right? It kind of, hey, these are the parameters of this contract or this agreement or something. So it allows us to be in relationship, be in partnership with. But at the same time, it could cause the fact that you have conditions, right? Can cause, what? I don't want to, I no longer want to be connected. And so how do you dance with that in creating boundaries and I guess appropriate behavior?
Well, I think first the boundaries are different to conditions. I think when I hear the word conditions, I hear like a door slamming shut. Wow. Whereas boundaries are they're more malleable, they're more movable, and they are determined by the comfort of the person, which might change from day to day, year to year, whatever it is, right? So, right. And it's important to have boundaries. You need to have your boundaries in order to have a loving, successful relationship.
Right.
Because if none of you have boundaries, when then the person can do whatever and it doesn't matter to you, and it's very hurtful, right? So it's all,
Right.
I think when I think about boundaries, it's more related to the emotion of
Right.
things. And I guess the things that we've been talking about, I'm getting out of the head and more into the heart space with these words.
Right.
And something I really love about what you're doing is that we need to understand that words have a frequency and an energy, which is what we're discovering right now.
Right.
To each and every one of us. And so words are so important. How you use them is so important. And the intention behind them is so important.
Right. Wow. And it's really interesting how I've collapsed the conditional and conditions to boundaries, right? And appropriateness. And it doesn't, in having a conversation with someone and not really recognizing, or in some case understanding, that that's a totally different energy. I've created a totally different energy within the conversation. And it's like, it's sometimes I have noticed for myself, because, I try to speak for myself and not others, because usually when I speak for other people, it gets all out of hand. When I really make an assumption that, hey, this is what this word means to me, so it means that, who am I? I'm this, average guy, type of thing, nothing special. So this is how it means to them. And almost I am surprised that someone may have, a different understanding, a different appreciation, and have a totally different energy around it. And I won't say anything, or they might not say anything. And then I'm left questioning, what happened? I said all these lovely words, and right, and we still can't do business, or we can't do anything, do anything else.
Wouldn't it be lovely if we would say what's really going on for us and express it in a way that is constructive and loving to ourselves and to the other person? So it's not accusatory or aggressive in any way, but it just states how you're feeling at that time when someone says something or does something, rather than, feeling like you need to be aggressive in order to protect yourself. It's about being vulnerable. We talk being vulnerable is weak, but being vulnerable is so much more expansive and I want to say constructive, actually, than two people pushing against each other, trying to control or be aggressive or whatever it is to achieve an outcome. Being loving is a much more open way of conversing. Being vulnerable, it's a much more open way of conversing, of communicating, and it's inclusive as well. So it doesn't it doesn't alienate people. It's inclusive, because we can all relate to the energy of compassion and joy and love and all those sorts of feelings.
Yeah, it's kind of, and I really appreciate you saying that. And it's like, it's something that I feel like, yeah, I can do that, but it's like not on my default switch, right? It's like my default is to be defensive, right? To kind of, protect what I say and all that other kind of stuff, and say, yeah, that's silly, or that's kind of crazy. That's, that's my first response. And that's what goes from there. And then I miss that opportunity to really gain the understanding and have the compassion for, how this word is landing for someone, or having for that. And really, it's like I said, just going back to, both of the words that has come up, or three words that have come up, boundaries, relentless, and conditional, and just kind of look and see how, it's not about good or bad. It's just how they land in the stories and the things that we have around it. And it's just within this conversation, I am really curious about how, right, about how I really look at conditions, right? How I really, how relentless is showing up in my life. And is it causing suffering? I have said, again on some shows that I have an unhealthy relationship with consistency, and I think it's connected to my relentless thing. So I think so. It's like, okay, now I get it. Right?
That's a great breakthrough.
Right.
That's an amazing breakthrough. That's fantastic.
And it's like, you know what? I'm not relentless, right? Right? Or I choose not to be relentless.
You don't have to be, exactly.
Or we don't have to be, right? I can be something else.
And still achieve the results that you want. As long as that thing is the right thing for you, right?
Right.
But, as we said before, we're not taught to live like this. We are, because of our past experiences, we feel like we have to protect ourselves, and we do. And this is where all these other ways of being come about for us that are really alien to our core natural self, our core state.
Wow. So we're creating disconnection when we really want connection. And is it just with our language, or is the energy that comes with the language, or is the language just energy, right?
A bit of everything, really.
It's a little everything, right?
Everything. Language is it's like when you could say the same sentence in different ways and have it feel different to the other person. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like being an actor, and
so wherever the emphasis is, right?
Yeah. So it's how you say it and the words as well as to how they land, most definitely.
And it's like, me, I trip up, even though I've been born in the States, I still trip up over the English language, right? So I can move the emphasis not on purpose, right? Just because, I tripped over a word, and it's like, okay, I just said something else differently that I didn't mean to say right now, and to go from there. Wow.
Yeah. And also, I mean, in Australia, we have a tendency, the last word to kind of like, what's the word for it? We make it sound like a question.
Right.
So it depends where you are as well, I suppose, in the world.
Right. So it's like, so have you spent any time in the States, and does that cause challenges, when you're speaking with people? Because everything's a question. What's,
No, I haven't. No, I haven't had any problems like that. Yeah, I've spent some time in the States and have some people online that are from the States. So we don't seem to have any problems at all. I think what we're finding is how similar we are, actually. And even in your language, like there'll be something said and I'm like, oh my God, do you guys say that as well? Because I would never have known, right? So yeah. So I'm finding that you're a lot similar. We're similar. Yeah.
Right. And that was the one thing that I really embraced about this conversation, the One Word Conversation show, is that it's a global conversation. And the more that I have this global self-discovery, relationship building conversation, right, the more that I can see how connected we really are, how similar we are, how there are some nuances to the energy and our passions and the stories that we have connected to the language that we have, that we can come together. And it's not just what are the Americans doing, right? And it's like all that other kind of stuff. It's like, okay, what's going on in the heart? What's going on? What is beyond the language, and what's the energy behind it, so we can really make a difference for some things. Because I think the world is asking us I don't know if the word is relentless, but the world is, it feels like for me that there is this demand for, not for us to get it together, but for us to communicate together, to really kind of show up for each other. And I think how we do that is in a shared language.
I love that, William. I love that. It sounds lovely.
And so, yeah, I think we can talk about this for hours, but since you are in tomorrow, right? I'm still in yesterday, right?
So if you need the lotto numbers, just ask me. I can tell you what the winning lotto numbers are.
But is there any final thing that you would like to leave us with that's come up from this conversation for you?
Yeah, I think the last thing I'd like to leave everyone with is that idea, as you've so beautifully put, that how we are, this whole thing that's going on in the world right now is to reconnect us all to each other, and to connect us to our own selves as well, because we can't really connect to others if we're not connected to self.
Right.
So, and I think I just want to let everyone know that they're not alone, that there's lots of love out there for every single person on this planet, and to remember that, and that we're all in this together.
Oh, wonderful. And so I've also put up you have a Facebook group. You do some incredible work. Anything that you want to add within that group that people can connect with you with?
So the group is for women. We have a lot of things going on in the group. I'm going to do an intention setting session today in the group. We have monthly calls that we will get together and do a breathing and liberation session. So there's lots of things going on in the group, a lot of support, a lot of tools to support you with whatever challenge you're going through in your life right now. So please come and connect to me, say hello. I'd love to have you there.
Oh, wonderful. Well, this has been an incredible conversation. I really greatly appreciate it. Now it's like you've caused me to look at the things that I'm holding on to, right? With aggression, right? And trying to control, right? And just kind of let that go. But blessings. Thank you very much. We'll say our goodbyes within the green room, but this has definitely been a pleasure.
Thanks, William.
Wow. Yeah, relentless, conditional, and we looked at boundaries. And I think all of those things, how they're showing up and how there's the energy that's coming along with it, will really dictate how people receive it. And I think just being curious about that, because there's a lot of words for me that feels like I need to be relentless to kind of make this happen. But it can get in the way of me being in the flow of my life and just trusting that. I hope this conversation has brought value to you. You can reach out to me at IamWilliamBrown.com for a free complimentary coaching session where we can have conversations about being yourself and living your life. Because the world wants you, the world needs you, and the world is waiting for you. So go be you. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you tomorrow on One Word Conversations.